Warning, the podcast you're about to hear has a unique conservative perspective and may be politically incorrect, containing some controversy in its message. This episode may speak out against liberalism, socialism, the dark state, and religious organizations. It is possible that evil in politics, education, law, society, and religion will be discussed and exposed. However, we believe this podcast adds truth and value to a mature, disenfranchised audience who may be tired of apostate religions and wicked world systems. Listeners who are easily offended, overly sensitive, or have progressive leanings sympathetic to the topics we expose should be forewarned not to listen any further. We thank both those who choose to listen as well as those who choose not to listen. You've been warned. And now, let us get on with the show.
Freedom Friday hour on the KAPOW radio show.
Yes. And today is December 15th, 2017.
And what a crazy set of topics we have. It's all about technology, robots, artificial intelligence, the whole bit. You know what? This agenda is just being pushed so hard, Ms. KAPOW.
It certainly is.
Every day I read something, some article, some headline about artificial intelligence.
Yep.
Or robots.
Oh, yeah.
You know, replacing humans and doing this and doing that. Every day, it's a really big push. You know, before it was just kind of like, yeah, the tech guys are out there making this stuff, thinking about it. Now it's really being implemented. You can imagine if we go that far, if we last this long on this planet, what it's going to look like.
Oh, I shudder.
Yeah, we're just totally a different species with this technology. Totally different. It's quite amazing, actually, because I do trace it back to the garden.
Oh, definitely.
The whole
Definitely.
thing. You know, I do trace it to that. And I know you have scripture, but I just want to say that what we're about to talk about, it could keep this in mind. It could be traced back to Genesis 3. Yeah. And, you know, the serpent, he's in the garden. He's smarter than humans. He's smarter than any other beast in the field, you know, and he goes up to the woman and he says, hey, you know, did God, Yahweh, the creator God, you know, Elohim, did he really say you should not eat of every tree in the garden? She said, well, you know, yeah, not, you know, all the trees except this one. And because he said if we eat of it or touch it, we're going to die. And so in verse 4, the serpent, who's bright, really brilliant creature, says, nah, you're not going to die. What the heck? For Elohim, the creator God, he knows. You see, he knows that the day that you partake of it, then your eyes are going to be open, which is cool, man. And then you're going to be as us, as gods, as angels, as serpentine. You're going to be as us, as seraphim, and you're going to know good and evil. Wouldn't you? Don't you want to know that? Don't you want to know stuff? The difference between, you know, what's going on in life. Don't you want to know that? You know, and God knows that. So that's why he said for you not to eat it and that you would die. You know, he gave you this kind of a weird punishment thing that you don't even know what it is, you know, to scare you because he doesn't want you to do it. And so then the woman, you know, she goes, well, you know, the tree does look good for food. Looks pretty good. And you know what? It's really, really pleasant to look at. It's really nice. And guess what? The third thing is it's to be desired. Don't we want to, like, you know, live forever and be like gods and be wise? You know, so then she took of it, and here we are. Yeah. And the eyes of both the man and the woman were opened, and they knew that they were naked because they knew the difference between good and evil.
Because she gave him the fruit, and he did eat it.
Yeah. So that's where we're all today. We are as gods. We already are as little g gods. We already are as the serpents. We do know good and evil.
Yep.
And here it is. So that's what we're going to talk about. And it really all stems from that. And here we are today. And it's a big consummation of it. It's like the days of Noah, you know, with the Nephilim and the mixture of human and angelic DNA and stuff. It's all this technology is producing more and more of that as we get to the close of this.
And once
age.
again, it's about deception. The scriptures I have, I'm going to start off with Zechariah 8:16, where it says, "These are the things that ye shall do. Speak ye every man the truth to his neighbor, and execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates. And let none of you imagine evil in your hearts against his neighbor, and love no false oath. For all these things that I hate, saith the Lord." Psalms 52, "Thy tongue devises mischiefs, like a sharp razor, working deceitfully." Proverbs 10, "He that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known." Proverbs 11, "The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them." Proverbs 12, "Lying lips are an abomination unto the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight." And then Mark 7:20 says that that which cometh out of the man shall defile the man. And then in Romans, it's at 12, it says, "And be not conformed to this world, but ye be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." Galatians 5, "I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh." Galatians 6, "Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." And Colossians 3:9, "Lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds." And James 1:22, "But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves."
Wow. That's the word of God there. It lays down the foundation of everything else, and that's why we have this alternative perspective on current events, politics, news.
Because the devil would want us deceived. Our flesh would want us deceived. The world wants to deceive us. And the only way to not be deceived, which Christ even told us to be aware of, is this deception. And the only way to do that is to be in Christ Jesus, and to walk in the Spirit and not in the flesh, and to be doers of the word.
Yeah. Or else you partake of the deception, and then you give into your fleshly nature and become little g God reptilians running around. And, the thing is, it does lead to death. It leads to physical death and eternal death. Yeah. They can't deny. Humans can argue and debate all they want about eternal death or eternal life, okay? But they can't argue about physical death. It's been going on for millenniums. It just it's going to happen. Yeah. So whether you upload your brain in a robot or a chip or whatever, that's the big lie that really the Gnostics and the poor serpents, they hate that, because
they're still trying to build the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, they are. They want to get to heaven and sit on the sides of the north and be worshipped. Yeah, when you understand that, you can understand today's headlines a little better. Even though it's irritating, you can go, this is why that agenda is there. And this is why you can't ignore it. It's there. You need to be aware of it, but you don't have to be part of it, right?
Right. Let's do the first article.
Okay. Well, I want to start off with homeless people. If you are from California, any major city in California, there's homeless everywhere, and probably other parts of the country too, major cities and things like that. And even in our little small town, you see a few of them. But nowhere near like where we came from. It was just something, you kind of, I want to say like grew up with. I mean, there was people all the time. And then as a police officer in, Long Beach and then also in Riverside, the homeless population was always there. And for law enforcement, the thing is, it's not a crime to be mentally ill. So a lot of these people were mentally ill, and some of them were homeless because they were really down and out, but some of them were homeless because they wanted to be, believe it or not. They chose to drop out of society and live that way. And not all of them, but some of them did. And at least in Riverside, they had a big homeless encampment in the riverbed. And they would all go there. And about every, year or so, somebody would get the great idea of, hey, let's go clean out the riverbed because there was some crime that happened or a fire or something. There was a bunch of overgrown bamboo down there. So the police would go down there and they'd go with probation officers and everything, and they'd arrest all these people on warrants and they'd clean it all up, right? And then you would find that all these homeless people would then come into the city and start encamping in front of businesses and even private property and stuff. And so what you found out, it was like squeezing a water balloon. You could squeeze one end, but they got to go somewhere. You're not going to get rid of them permanently. So it was better just to leave them be in their homeless camps in the riverbed than to mess with them. That's like my personal experience. So I preface that with this next story. San Francisco, which is, it's the seat of liberalism, Nancy Pelosi and, social democrat kind of thinking, right? San Francisco. California in general is very, light on crime and things like that. And they're a sanctuary city and they want to love everybody. So San Francisco has a big homeless problem, right?
Yep.
There's homeless people everywhere. They, homeless people, if you're not used to this, if you're not used to coming from a larger city, they will encamp in doorways and businesses. Some of them, they'll urinate there. It'll smell like, urine. They'll defecate there. They do a lot of things there.
Oh, yeah.
And
definitely.
A lot of times by the morning they're gone, but as you go into the building, you can smell it and see the results, and they'll come back at night. And,
they use the public restrooms to clean up. Oh.
It's common. Okay. It's common. And if you come from a smaller town, you may not be used to that, but it is a real common thing. It is a real issue, and not a whole lot that anybody can really do about it. So here in San Francisco, they have that issue, and the homeless people were encamping in the doorways of, check this out, and I think this is so ironic, the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Mm-hmm. So the whole organization, the SPCA, exists to prevent cruelty to animals, right? But now they have this human animal encamping in their doorways and, setting up tents, and they got bikes, and that's their home. They set it up right in front of the business on the sidewalks. So when the employees were coming into work in the morning and things like that, they had to go through all these hobos, right? Mm-hmm. That's a politically correct term to call them hobos. And so anyway, so the SPCA, the cruelty animals, said, we have an idea. We have a brilliant idea. Let's get a robot to patrol the streets in front of our building. Yeah. That's what they did. So they got this security robot, and this security robot apparently has several cameras on it. And what it does is it films and records everything around it. And so they thought this would be a deterrent for the homeless people hanging out in front of their building, right? Yeah. So here's what's happening. This robot was patrolling the streets there in San Francisco, and its purpose was to ward off the homeless. And but the locals, whoever the locals are, I don't know if they were the homeless people or just other local people, it doesn't say. But what they did is, they knocked over the security robot. They knocked it over. They brutalized it. They bullied it. They assaulted it. And they smeared feces on it. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't have much sympathy for people who want to smear their poop on things.
Yeah. Nasty.
Yeah.
Nasty. Poochie.
So this little robot was a Nightscope K5 security robot. And it weighed 400 pounds. And it was operating in the public realm on the sidewalk without a permit. And so the company, SPCA, was now threatened with a $1,000 a day fine if they kept it. And the presence also angered the local community, who took to social media to complain. Now, if you're homeless and you're sleeping in a doorway of a business, and urinating and using that as a bathroom. I don't know how you have access to local media or social media, but apparently some do. You know, they still have their Obama phone or whatever. I don't know. So anyway, they attacked the thing. They doused the sensors with barbecue sauce. They knocked it over. They threw a tarp over it. They saw feces smeared all over it.
Yeah.
And the whole bit. So that was the reaction. So the SPCA, said, look we're having a hard time. The police hands are tied. We can't even get to work anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's why we had this little robot. But people said it was extremely insensitive and horrible to treat the homeless this way and have this thing. So they attacked it and they, abused it. And there you have it. There's San Francisco for you, right? There's San Francisco for you. Now, I bring this up. It's kind of humorous, really. But I bring this up because I do believe you're going to get to the point where these robots or security robots are going to be able to defend themselves.
Oh, yeah. They're working on that.
Yeah. Now, this one didn't work because it was on the public sidewalk and you're in an area like San Francisco that's very liberal. And they'd rather see the SPCA, close down and quit helping animals than, spend those tax money to do something with the homeless. I don't know. Nancy Pelosi's probably not sheltering any homeless people in her, mansion. Wasn't Cher Bono supposed to do that?
I think so.
Didn't Cher say she would house illegal immigrants?
Yes, she did.
Yeah,
yes,
I never heard any follow up on that.
No. Mm-mm.
So anyway, it's just you're going to get to the point, and I really believe this, that these things will be able to be armed and fight back.
Because they'll be able to think and reason. Yeah,
and if they're threatened, then they can either tase or pepper spray or
I think
shoot.
Sonia even said that.
Yeah, she did.
Basically,
Sophia.
Sophia, I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, Sonia is the Mexican version of artificial intelligence, and Sophia is the Greek version. So I like Sonia because that robot can actually make tortillas, whereas the Greek one is what? Here's some yogurt. Yeah, I don't know. How about this guy? This guy named Brian Johnson.
Oh, this one's an interesting.
Yeah, it's Humans 2.0. Now, Brian Johnson is an entrepreneur, and he wants to put a chip in your brain, folks.
The only chip I like is chip and salsa.
Yeah, now a chocolate chip ain't bad.
Oh, there you have it. That
Yeah.
goes beyond. That goes above the chocolate
Yeah,
chip. I
and
mean
you-
the chip
yeah.
and salsa.
Now, you put it in the mouth orifice, and it's close enough to the brain for the brain to sense the delicious
It's a good thing.
buttery flavor. But this is not what we're talking about, Ms. Pound.
No.
This ain't that kind of chip.
No.
So don't get excited. I see you there. Your pupils are dilated. Your hair's it's getting crazy. Brian Johnson is an ex-Mormon. Did you know he's an ex-Mormon? He left the faith.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yes, but he was a Mormon and he did missionary work in, I don't know, somewhere, Venezuela or Guadalajara or I don't know, somewhere there. And he saw people in need. He saw need. And he realized that his vision of heaven wasn't going to happen. He left the faith after a while. I don't know what happened. And so he realized that the closest he was going to get to heaven was right here on earth. Okay?
Wow.
What does that sound like? Genesis 3:50. Your eyes will be open. Don't worry about it. So Brian Johnson, and I hate to offend anybody here, he was an ex-Mormon, so he was already deceived once. He was deceived once because that's a false religion. Oh my God. They believe some weird stuff. Holy cow. It's really cool for men, though. It's a cool religion for men if you don't mind paying, a lot of money to your church. But like you get to call your wife up to heaven, and then you get to have celestial sex forever and repopulate planets, and it's
Spiritual
really
babies.
Yeah, you get spiritual babies. It's not a really good religion for women.
No.
Just a little hint out there.
Yeah, 'cause you got to wait for him to call you up.
Oh
right?
yeah, so they'll be making the old man mad. Yeah. So anyway, Brian Johnson left the Mormon thing, but he's not short of ambition, Ms. KAPOW.
No.
He is the founder and CEO of neuroscience company called Kernel. Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting? Kernel.
Yeah. Kernel, seed.
Yes. Yes. Serpent seed. Ooh. He wants to expound the bounds of human intelligence. Wow. And he's planning to do this with a thing called neuroprosthetics.
Yep.
It's a brain augmentation that can improve mental function and treat disorders. Simply put, Kernel hopes to place a chip in your brain. Mm-hmm. It's not clear exactly how he's going to do it, but his hope is that within 15 years, he can build some powerful tools that can interface with the brain. And he says, can I increase my rate of learning, my scope of imagination, and ability to love?
Wow.
Oh, gag me with a spoon. Mm-hmm. A chip is going to increase a person's ability to love.
Yep.
And maybe the SPCA could use some chips to increase their ability to love the homeless people that are defecating in their building. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying. And maybe the homeless people can use this chip so they quit abusing the robots.
Exactly. And this chip, hopefully, can help us understand what it's like to live in a 10-dimensional reality.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
What does he know that you and I don't know?
I don't know.
I mean, to actually use that term, 10-dimensional reality, we're going to have to Google that and research that later on. Because that's interesting because, I don't think he just said that. There's something he knows. So those are the questions he asked. And, of course, along with that, can we, cure neurological disease and dysfunction?
Sure.
That's always good for you.
That's always that.
Yeah, it's always good for you. And he uses the term brain chip. And company is developing this. He's trying to figure this out. But check who this guy is. This is who he is. When he was 30 years old, when he was at university, he's from Utah. I'm not sure where he went to school, but he's from Utah. When he was a student, he made a bunch of money selling mobile phones to other students. So he's pretty good with business. And by age 30, he had founded an online payment company named Braintree. He's really into the brain, isn't he? Isn't that interesting how he was selected?
Yeah.
He was selected. He founds a company called Braintree. 6 years later, remember, he's 30 years old. So now he's 36 years old. He sells it to PayPal for $800 million.
That's a good little paycheck right there.
Yes. That's who this guy is. So you cannot tell me they're not taken care of, that they're not set up, they're not groomed to be the reptilian agenda. 800 million. So he takes a measly 100 million of that, and he creates this company in 2016 called Kernel, and he employs 30 people. What a great guy. Mm-hmm. So he's mega rich, folks. And he's going to put a chip in your brain and in your kid's brain too. And like I said, I mentioned the whole Mormon connection before, and he had left the faith, and he says he wants to build heaven on earth while he's alive. And when he was a Mormon missionary, he looked at the landscape of human history, and he saw how we treated each other and our shared home, earth. Mm-hmm. And he says, we have to do better. We have to do better. And it's also deeply personal for him because he has suffered. Now, this guy who's multi-rich and very clever suffered from depression from age 24 to 34. And his father had health issues and addictions and all this stuff. So now he thinks he's going to, help people and change all this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he going to be successful? Probably. It's probably is. And, he says Kernel is a for-profit company. So he wants to create a usable product that would be inexpensive and that everybody can take, not just rich people. Everybody can have this implanted, and then it would create an equal playing field, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where we're going with that.
I typed in that 10-dimensional reality, and there was something interesting. I mean, we would have to do some research on it, but it says here that over 2,000 years ago, the Zohar was well aware of the 10 dimensions that make up the universe as we can clearly see. As science has caught up, a concept that at one time would have boggled people's minds has become the prevalent explanation of how the universe works. That's all. Then I went to another website where it says the 10-dimensional universe is understanding how it's all connected via geometrically ordered divinity. And if you take that, it spells God, G-O-D.
Oh.
In the fractal geometricized universe.
That term too, geometric, was used by Sophia. And I forgot what the sentence she said it, but she said basically artificial intelligence would geometrically increase or something like that. That's interesting that the language is the same. Maybe this guy's a synth. Maybe he's a robot himself or a synthetic. Could be.
And they have this quote by some guy named Buckminster Fuller.
I love
and
that
he
name.
Says,
Buck.
You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. So that'll be good, the little research project.
Well, so the 10-dimensional theory concept comes from Zohar. Wow. Now, somehow that's connected to, I'm just spitballing off the top of my head here because I can't remember all this stuff. Kabbalistic Judaism.
Yes. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah. It's all occult. It's all occult. It's all Satanism. It's all fallen angel technology. It's interesting when you catch these little buzzwords, because they're trying to be slick and they say something like that and it's easy to read over it. Yeah. But it's like, why would you say 10-dimensional? 10 dimensions.
But see, it all has to do with CERN and the creating of the AI, which creates little robot gods, and it's all related.
It's the transhumanism, basically.
Yep.
It's this guy's doing Mormon transhumanism,
Definitely
but it's all transhumanism.
unfolding.
Yeah, it's like the days of Noah. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair, and they came in unto them and created this race of Nephilim. They were giants in the land, and they consumed regular humans, cannibalized everything, and they sinned against beasts also, birds, fish, reptiles. That's in Enoch. And you kind of see that here.
Yeah, but see, now this stuff is coming out in the open.
Yes.
But they've been working on it for a long time.
God, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But now, I think that's why you see this agenda every day in the news, and because it's desensitized. It's desensitized.
The unveiling.
Yes. Yeah. And so you're going, oh, yeah, we're going with that. We're going with that. Like this guy says, Brian says, the brain is everything. It's everything we are, everything we do, everything we aspire to be. And to him, it was obvious that the brain is the most consequential variable in the world and also the biggest blind spot as a species. See? So, yeah.
And remember Obama and his brain, what is it, project or whatever, that he spent a lot of money on.
Yeah.
To study the brain.
The science and everything. Well, and I think that's it. And you just read something there about the 10 dimensions and about how the quote is to change, right? To change the thinking. Well, this Brian guy says the same thing. He said he decided that if the root problems of humanity begin in the human mind, let's change our minds.
Right. And that's what's so interesting about Romans 12, about the conforming and renewing your mind through the Word of God.
Yeah. Doesn't that, it takes on new life.
Doesn't it?
When you look at it in today's headlines, doesn't it?
And that's how it prevents us from being deceived.
Yeah, brain chipped.
By this AI.
Wow.
Crapola.
Fuchi. Let's take a Fuchi commercial and then we'll be right back.
All right.
I don't know what all this fuss is about these pestilence. I think the scientists are doing a great job.
Clueless, In the dark?
I think the government's doing a good job.
Have no idea what is really going on? I have an app for that. KAPOW Radio Show app for iPhone and iPad. KAPOW Radio Show app for Android. Get the app. Get a clue.
Hey, Vinny. I love politicians. I think they've got my best interest in mind.
Get the app. Get a clue. FifthHookMedia.com.
Okay, we're back. That was a short commercial, Ms. KAPOW.
Yeah, it was.
Let's continue with artificial intelligence. Now, this is scary because this isn't in the future or somebody thinking about it or a startup company. This actually happened, and it didn't happen by a big company or a big multi-million-dollar entrepreneur. It happened and was created by a guy who was a Reddit user. And I forget what his screen name is, but it has something to do with fake. And Deep Fakes is his name. Deep Fakes, a Reddit user.
Wow.
But here's what he did. He used artificial intelligence and he created fake porn. And why this is important is because he used an algorithm that put that actress Gal Gadot, she played Wonder Woman apparently.
Oh, yeah.
This algorithm from this computer put her face onto the body of another adult movie star, a porn movie star, and created a small porn clip that looked like her. And why that's important is, earlier Ms. KAPOW read those scriptures about deception. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is amazing. And here's how he did it. He used artificial intelligence on a computer and he trained it to watch all these different porn videos. And then he also used it and he trained it to concentrate on images of her. And he got images of her that were available from the internet, Google, YouTube, all that stuff. So he didn't have anything special. Mm-mm. And then he used that to recreate her face on the body of the stuff it had learned from the porn things.
Well, see how much that's manipulation. It's witchcraft.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
You know what I mean? And they can fabricate anything they want now.
And that's what's so frightening because you're watching something and you always have to question, is this even real? Mm-hmm. Is this even real what I'm seeing? Some of it's really obvious that it's not, but other things are not, So when the real thing does come along, you really don't know. What's troubling about this is that I guess this was pretty easy for him to do. This, like I said, this isn't some big company. So anyway, the story says it's a troubling video that appears. That it shows Gal Gadot performing a short adult film, and it's shed startling light on what could happen when machine learning falls into the wrong hands. No, that could never happen. So this Reddit user named Deep Fakes, it features a woman who takes on the rough likeness of Gadot with the actor's face overlaid on another person's head. But I guess it's done so well you can't tell. Mm-hmm. And it was made by the machine learning algorithms on stock photos, like I said, from Google searches, YouTube, things like that. Mm-hmm. And the technique is apparently no longer rocket science. A regular person could do this. Now, I've seen a little bit of the clip on my computer, just a little bit of it. And I can't tell that that's not that person's face.
Mm.
No. Yeah, I can't tell that that's not that person's face. Mm-mm. It looks like a person.
It's very well done.
Yeah. So the video was spotted by Motherboard, and it might not fool anyone, but it's a stark reminder of the growing concerns over the ease with which machine learning could be used to create fake porn starring a particular person without their consent, along with other malicious intent. And it's not the first. Deepfakes has made similar videos of other stars also, including Taylor Swift, some other actresses, and these other people have notified the companies and blah, blah, blah. And he relied on open source machine learning tools to create the fake porn videos. And like I said, it was trained on real videos and then images of Gal Gadot, allowing it to create an approximation of the actor's face that can be applied to the moving figure in the video. And he did that all on his own, sitting in the basement of his mother's house. Wow. Yeah, amazing. So you can see what the concern is. I mean, you can blackmail people. You could put, people's faces
It's
on.
actually very scary.
Yeah. Especially when you start later on, we're going to talk about some other Minority Report AI stuff coming out. And so, hey, you committed this crime. Well, no, I didn't. Well, we got proof you did.
Yeah.
Is this you? Well, yes, my face, but I'm not the one robbing that bank. Well, our video says different.
Yeah. Try to fight that.
Yeah. So, and here's this one person, a single programmer who did this. That's not something in the future or something we're working on. So our technology is really, really, this star technology is really exponentially increased here recently. With just really 2017, we made huge leaps in it. It's scary, Miss Kapow.
It really is
Miss Kapow.
horrible.
Okay, we'll just parlay right into this artificial intelligence machine. Do people know what we talk about? The Minority Report. There was a movie, and I don't know what year it was. Who cares? It starred that handsome man, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise,
the Scientologist. Tom Cruise played a cop in the future, and the Minority Report was about pre-crime. And so they would get this information from the oracles, from the computer machines, and they would actually see this person committing a crime, murdering his wife or something like that. So their job was to go out before he did it and then arrest them. Pre-crime. So that's what the Minority Report. I won't do a spoiler alert, but the movie goes on and it gets really interesting with Tom.
yes.
So this particular story is about the Minority Report. Artificial intelligence machine can identify 2 billion.
That's a lot of people.
2 billion people. How long does it take for it to identify them?
Not very long.
Seconds.
A matter of seconds.
Seconds. Once again, this isn't something that's future that they're working on. This is something that is. It exists now.
Because they've been working on it for a while now.
This is a tech company called Yitu. It's Y-I-T-U. Yitu Technology has made an AI algorithm that can connect to millions of surveillance cameras and instantly recognize people. There was a show that Miss Kapow and I watched maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, called Person of Interest. Remember that one?
Yes, I think that was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, Person of Interest. I don't even know the actors or who it was.
The guy that played Jesus in the
that's right.
In the Passion.
Jim Carvelli, Carvalho, or whatever like that. And what that series was about, Person of Interest, was this dude had created an artificial intelligence computer. And he had linked it to every camera in the world. And so this thing knew everything and developed in its own personality in a little bit. And their job, it was almost like Minority Report. Their job was kind of like a pre-crime thing too. But they used this artificial intelligence and they got a name or a number or something of who's the criminal, and their job was to go out and then deal with it. Right? And then as the series went on, a counterintelligence evil thing came up and tried to kill the good intelligence, and it got all sideways and a whole bit. But anyway, this is the stuff movies were made out of, right? No more. This has actually connected to millions of surveillance cameras. It's just like that series, Person of Interest. And the company is based in Shanghai, China. And check out the name, Ms. KAPOW. It's called Dragonfly Eye. Dragonfly Eye. You see the clues? Mm-hmm. It's a clue. Dragonfly Eye. Dragon Eye. It's reptilian. It's fallen angel. It's seraphim. It's the serpent in the garden. I don't know why they do that. I don't know why they just don't like totally hide. I guess it's pride.
Yeah.
I don't know why they play their hand, but they do all the time. Mm-hmm. Dragonfly Eye, it scans through millions of photographs that have been logged in the country's national database. Huh. And those of you who have your personal faces up on Facebook and Instagram or whatever else you're using, think hard about what kind of pictures you're putting up there, folks. Yeah. Seriously, man. Seriously. I'm not going to get into details on this, but ask Ms. KAPOW if this is not true. Have I not for months been reducing our digital footprint?
Yep.
I even paid companies to reduce. Yeah, I paid money, outside money, to be reduced. Mm-hmm. Be hard pressed to find a picture of me or Ms. KAPOW out there now. But yeah, it's crazy. I'll talk about that later in some other secret episodes. Because it's not for public consumption. Because I know some stuff.
Yeah. And
I know some places to go that can help shield you from certain things. But I don't want to talk. I'm not being dramatic here. It's not for public consumption because I don't want other things to know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll deal with that later, and we'll figure something out where you can get like a code to listen to the podcast or something. It'll be a private podcast. It'll give you a code, but there'll be a way to do it. Anyway, the company based in China can scan millions of photographs been logged in the country's database. This means it has a collection of 1.8 billion photos on file, including visitors to the country and those taken at ports and airports. Not a whole lot you can do about that. You visit a country, and what are you going to do?
They got cameras everywhere.
They got your face. I mean, you can reduce your footprint all you want, but you can't totally disappear from the internet. You got to understand that. In my research, and in my endeavors here to disappear, I've discovered that our dead parents who've never. I have a dead father who never once laid a finger on a computer keyboard. Never. He never sent an email. He never played a game. He never touched a computer. That was not his thing. And yet he's on the internet. Mm-hmm. You can find
obviously they input that kind of stuff from the census and DMV and all that.
Yeah.
That he was involved in.
Yeah, you can find him. And same thing with Ms. KAPOW's parents and uncles and things like that. It's people who never had anything to do with anything. It's amazing what they know about you, and they track. So you can't totally disappear, but you can reduce your footprint and you can blur it. That's the thing. And here's why. Here's why. This company, this artificial intelligence, may have gained access to the photos of every one of Hong Kong's identity card holders. Mm-hmm. Every one. It's cutting edge technology, and it's being used to track down criminals. Just like Minority Report, just like Persons of Interest, and probably dozens of other shows and movies and art, quote unquote, just like that. And it tracks down criminals with the early stages of use, showing it has been hugely successful.
Of course.
Hugely successful. I just read something today, Ms. KAPOW. I read an article about the NSA and all the spying and stuff they're doing on us, and that they've admitted they have never stopped or caught one single terrorist cell or terrorist person or activity from all of the surveillance that they're doing. Not one.
That's obvious.
Not one. Because it's not about stopping terrorists. That's a lie. That is a huge lie that was sold to our gullible, idiot American friends here. The whole thing is control, man. Mm-hmm. It's East Germany Stasi.
That's what it is.
It's East Germany Stasi stuff, and it's control of the population.
See, the history has repeated itself, but nobody recognizes it.
But they don't recognize it, yeah, because it's done with this new technology. So they don't recognize it. But you should. This is serious stuff, folks. I am not kidding. You can ignore it and go, well, I still like Facebook, and I got my picture everywhere, my grandkids and my kids. And I'm telling you, now the time while you still can, you need to really start thinking hard about what you have out there. And you could say, I have nothing to hide, so I don't worry about it. I know that.
Yeah,
maybe you have nothing to hide.
That's not the point.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that this Reddit user, fake guy or whatever it is, doesn't have some other alternative motives for your information. Okay. Our machines can very easily recognize you among at least 2 billion people in a matter of seconds. To Chief Executive and co-founder Zhu Long told the South China Morning Post. Which would have been, this is a good statement here. He says, which would have been unbelievable just 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
That's not a
not
long time. No, that's not like, this would have been unimaginable 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 3 years ago. 3 years ago. What, 2014, 2015? 2015. You couldn't have even imagined an artificial intelligence accessing the pictures and recognizing 2 billion people in seconds in 2015. But here in late 2017, it's a reality and it's online. Oh, come on. It's reported that the first day, Dragonfly Eye. My God, that's creepy. Dragonfly Eye was in operation in Shanghai's metro. It was able to track a man wanted by cops and sent police to his exact location. Really, folks? A further 567 suspected criminals were nabbed on the city's subway system. See? And we just had the mad bomber here in New York City subway that went awry. But had he had a good bomb or knew really what he was doing, a lot of people would have been killed. And that New York system has cameras everywhere. So if they would have this beautiful technology called Dragonfly Eye, well, they could have identified him as somebody that had no criminal connection whatsoever. But they'd also identify you and everybody else. Know exactly where you're going. Now, you got a cell phone in your pocket, in your purse. You're tracked wherever you go. Things like that. Every time you use social media, every time you get on it, you know that. Like I said, you can't totally disappear, but you can blur it. And maybe other people don't want to. I do. I like doing that. And I think it's important for where we're going here.
I agree.
The CEO says, he continues, he says, let's say that we live in Shanghai, a city of 24 million people. It's challenging for the government to police such a large population, and it would be impossible without technology, even when we have many cameras installed. It's a hard task. It is impossible because who's watching these video feeds, these live cameras all the time? Live. Who's watching that? Who has the brain power to do that? Only a machine. He says you can't watch all the videos, and doing a search is very time-consuming and requires too many resources to get meaningful results from such a huge amount of data. But artificial intelligence can do it easily and by using existing infrastructure. And the future of the Dragonfly technology doesn't stop at catching criminals. Ooh, it doesn't. What else does it do? It can identify people at ATM machines, making or carrying a bank card is a thing of the past. Wow. He added, people waste time discussing whether it's all hype or the real thing, but facial recognition already shows how real it can get. In 2015, AI had already beaten humans in face verification tasks. He goes on, he says, our algorithm is more accurate than customs officials at telling whether two images show the same person. It could even find the subject among millions of others using a 25 or 30-year-old image. And in the past 2 years, the performance of machines has increased by 1,000 times. This ain't future. This isn't the other guy who's talking about future brain chips. This is now. This is now. Last story, Ms. KAPOW.
Okay.
Last story. It goes with everything else. Humans will worship AI Messiah, God robot religion expected to boom.
Yep. This is a very creepy story as well.
Yeah, and we've talked about this the last couple of weeks. Former Google and Uber engineer Anthony Lewandowski. We already know he founded an AI-based religion called the Way of the Future. See, I talked about this several weeks ago, but they play their hand in their names. They called it the Way, the Way of the Future. The early church used to be called the Way, because Christ was the truth, the light, and the way.
That's right.
They were children of the Way, people of the Way, is what they were called before they were called Christians or followers of Christ, Messiahians. So he calls it the Way of the Future. It's a play on words. It's reptilian. So he does this so people can worship a Godhead robot that is 1 billion times smarter than humans. Why wouldn't you worship it? It's smarter than you. He wants to create a new church that revolves around artificial intelligence. He has people worshiping at the feet of super machine. And tech experts have said humans are likely to accept the robot at a higher being. Well, look at the way they talk to this Sophia thing.
Oh, my goodness.
Like it's real.
Yeah.
And they ask you questions, and I'm so amazed.
And now they're, could we ever hurt or destroy these machines?
Of course not. Of course not. They're human. Well, especially when they get rights. Like Sophia is a citizen of Arabia or whatever. John Mitchell is a lawyer, and he's also an artificial intelligence expert. And he said that human beings in general tend, this is a quote, they tend to worship supreme understanding.
Worship in power.
Yeah.
In intelligence.
He claims the same drive that compels people to believe in God and follow religions will also work for AI. He explains, we believe there must be some higher power that causes lightning, sunsets, and crashing waves, or at least speaks at the bottom of our beings rather than ignore them as ho-hum background. Now, it's amazing that he would say that because there is a higher power that created lightning and sunsets and crashing waves and that beautiful tree in your backyard. But no one's looking to him, the creator God. We're going to create our own and worship that.
Reject the real God and create your own. Yeah.
Like Romans, right? Like Paul writes in Romans.
Exactly.
And then they think of themselves to be wise. They became idiots. They became gorillas.
Yep.
De-evolved. So why we create the thing that's evolving, humans de-evolve. Devolve. Dr. Stephen Thaler, he's the president and CEO of Imagination Engines. Wow. Imagination Engines. He's also an AI expert, and he's an AI consciousness expert. He has a doctor in front of his name, so he must be smart. He's claimed people will rely on AI to provide solutions to society's problems.
And that's true because they were asking, what's her face, all kinds of questions about the future and how she plans to make it better.
Yeah, and work with humans. Yeah, how to get rid of homeless people in front of the cruelty for animals office
without using poop.
Without using poop, or tasers. Maybe they could just shoot them off into the 10th dimension or something. Let them live there. It's nice there. He goes on and says, an AI would provide the equivalent of a Messiah.
Oh, dear Lord.
Having many orders of magnitude more processing elements than the brain, enabling it to gift us, with solutions to the most daunting social, political, economic, environmental challenges, he says. My goodness. Now, some experts believe that AI won't be worshipped by people. There's an author, and he's a consultant, Peter Scott, said, I would expect the AIs that evolved in the next 50 years to be very rational and, if conscious, not want to be worshipped. So obviously, Peter Scott lives under a rock. Peter Scott, I'm sorry, is a moron. If he thinks that artificial intelligence is going to evolve and it's going to be very rational, and then if it is conscious, it wouldn't want to be worshipped because it's going to be like a Spock on a Star Trek. It's going to be right? Are you an idiot? Do I have to go back to Genesis 3 and talk about the serpent? He goes, if they have the human race's best interest at heart, and God help us if they don't, he says, then they would want us to have as much right of self-determination as possible.
Oh, for the love of pizza. That is
You know what? He's not an AI expert. He's just an author and a consultant. I don't even know who Peter Scott is. Maybe he wrote the article. He's brain dead. He needs a chip because he's not thinking right.
Chips and salt.
Yeah, he's not thinking right, man, because anybody can see the writing on this wall. The Way of the Future founder unveiled his plan for his super religion last month. And he said, this is Lewandowski or whatever his name is. He said, what is going to be created will effectively be a god. It's not a god in the sense that it makes lightning or causes hurricanes. But if there is something a billion times smarter than the smartest human, what else are you gonna call it?
That just gave me the heebie-jeebies.
What else are you gonna call it? Now, the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Jesus. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And then the serpent said, come on, you're surely not going to die. For God knows that in the day you eat, your eyes are going to be open, man, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Then the woman saw the tree was good for food, was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired, to make one wise. She took of the fruit and did eat, gave it also to her old man with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And then they heard the voice, of the Creator Elohim, walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife, what did they do? Did they run to Elohim and go, look at us, we now know stuff. Look at us, we have AI. Look at us, we're smart.
Nope.
What did they do? They hid themselves. They hid from the presence of the Lord. That's your clue. Mm-hmm. They hid among the trees, and the Lord called unto them, where are you? And I was afraid because I was naked. God said, why? Who told you were naked? And well, the woman gave me room. And she said, the serpent. And the blame game started. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how it started. Well, the serpent beguiled me. So after she ate of it, and he ate of it, and their eyes were open, did they then go, well, we're going to hide from God because we got a better life and we know a lot? No, they knew right away that they were beguiled. Yeah. They knew right away. See, our problem is we don't know we're beguiled. We've lost the beguiledness of it. Where'd the beguiledness go? Yeah, we lost it. So anyway, then the curse happens, and there's envy, serpent seed. We know all this stuff. Okay. So that's it in a nutshell. You know?
Alrighty then.
Outside of that, I can't complain.
Everything's good.
Yeah. Outside of that, I can't complain. All right, Ms. KAPOW.
All right, everybody. Ciao, babies.